Well, today we have Brian, Jesse, Rena setting a beautiful tone and their very talented musical gifts for us. We love you and are very grateful for you, week after week. Those of us attending in person, we continue to have open doors with fresh, clean air. For now, we're wearing masks inside. We'll inform you when this does change. We all hug. And for for our closing peace song, placing our hands on our hearts instead of hand holding. Upcoming events, Reverend Keith's daily affirmative prayer is live, 9:30 Pacific time, Sundays, except Sundays, and access it on the Soul Center's Facebook page, our newsletter Zoom link, or the soulcenteroc.com. Save the date, new classes are coming. We have Praying on Purpose, which is a 5-week online class beginning May 11th, which is a month from now, let's say. Then we have Life Visioning, which is a 6-week online class. It begins June 30th.
Oh, 8 weeks.
Sorry?
Should be 8 weeks.
8-week class, okay. Sorry. And then, of course, we have the Course in Miracles with the Keely Beckwith, which meets every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Join anytime. Details at soulcenteroc.com. So, Jesse Moon continues to bring mindfulness and yoga training to our Enlightened Kids Village. Thank you, Jessica, for always having that so available for all of us. Oh, yes. Yes, congratulations. Thank you so much. On most Sundays, so she, meaning Jesse Moon, has over 20 years of training as a master and is well recognized for teaching children and their parents. And 2 is the best OC has to offer in this field. You could learn from her by simply joining our volunteer team, no special skills needed. So, our first Sunday of the month, and our loving prayer chaplains, raise your hand if I see you, okay. They're all wearing their beautiful blue silk, holy sacred, I'm sorry, the prayer chaplains are here online and holding a sacred space for all of us, including you. They are wearing their royal blue prayer shawls. They are available after service on our patio for individual confidential prayer, and requests may also be sent to soulcenterocprayers@gmail.com. So for our weekly newsletter, go to soulcenteroc.com or our welcome table. Tithing. Please consider establishing an auto tithe account with us. You could set it up weekly, monthly, etc. It only takes a few minutes. Doing so helps our budget and with our Soul Center long-term plans because we have an idea of funds we can count on. Tithing is done through our secure website by text, on Venmo at Soul Center OC, or mail a check. Please note our new postal address is in your program and on our website. And it is tax deductible. Volunteers, join me on Sunday service volunteer team. You could be a greeter, help with the setup, refreshments, or other quick and easy tasks. You'll enjoy it while developing deeper connections with our Soul Center community. Please contact Birgit, thank you Birgit, volunteer lead, and one of our newest board members, or email info@soulcenteroc.com. Thanks again for stepping up and doing that. We really appreciate it. And to the founders, to Jessica and her mother, our angel spirit, we are truly grateful for you both continuing to help us build our Soul Center community. We love being here. We enjoy the camaraderie, the connection. So, let's do our congregation song, and we get up to join our amazing musicians for our Soul Center Superstar congregation song.
I just got here from Dallas about an hour and a half ago. My name is Lynn Chankey. Our reading is taken from the Optimist Creed by Christian Larson, from the chapter, The Ideal Made Real. If all the time and all the energy that is wasted in longing and longing, yearning and yearning, were employed in scientific, practical self-development, the average person would, in a short time, as his ideal. He would thus realize his ideal because we attract from the without what corresponds exactly to what is active in our own within. When we attain the ideal and the beautiful in our own natures, we shall meet the ideal and the beautiful wherever we may go. And we will find the same things in the real that we dreamed of in the ideal. When we see an ideal, we usually begin to long begin now to be like your ideals, and at the proper time, that ideal will be made real. Let us turn within and pray. I'm so grateful for Soul Center. I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm grateful for the camaraderie, the community, the friendship and family the connections that we have made here. It's just such I love it so much, and I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful to be surrounded by love and beauty and wonderful ideals coming in all the time. I know that God is omnipotent. God is magnificent. God is wonderful and good. And there is only God. Everywhere we look, God. Everything we hear, God. I know that this love intelligence governing the universe is moving in, through, and as each and every one of us. I know that I am one with this presence. I know that each and every one of us here is one with this presence. Each and every one of us watching, people passing by, the people across the way playing soccer, you can feel it. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. I know that this day is filled with so much love and joy and peace, and that we are open and available to hear the beautiful message that is coming through Reverend Keith, the message that is coming through the songs, playing through Jesse and Brian and Rena. We are truly blessed to have such a wonderful way to hear God's word through Reverend Keith and through the music. I know that as we expand our consciousness and we are lifted by the vibration of the music and the love and the message, we are raising everyone around us. And we are harbingers of peace and love and joy. I am blessing all of us here today, blessing Reverend Keith as the words are flowing through him into our fertile mind and our fertile ears. Blessing Jesse and Brian and Rena as they sing the beautiful songs and play the beautiful music. I know I'm blessing each and every one of us here. I know that we are blessed, truly blessed. Our friends and family are blessed. I know that we are all blessed. We are all the blessors, and we are all blessings in other people's lives. Program and coming up on the screen. I'll speak a line and then we'll all repeat them aloud together with sincerity.
Take and receive the infinite good of the universe
impulses of the divine mind radiate as my thoughts, words, and deeds.
The impulses of the divine mind radiate as my thoughts, words, and deeds.
All of my relationships are holy expressions of love, harmony, kindness, reverence, and respect.
All of my relationships are holy expressions of love, harmony, kindness.
I always listen and follow the holy wisdom that expresses as my wellness, prosperity, and joy.
I always listen and follow the holy wisdom that expresses my wellness, prosperity, and joy.
I am grateful that my life is God's life.
I am grateful that my life is God's life.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jesse. Good morning once again, Soul Center. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for giving me a reason to wake up and be excited about starting the day. What am I to feel? I am like a child, and you are with me still. What am I to do? What am I am like a child, and you are with me still. Listening to silence, even in the sadness, that you are.
That wasn't a collective knocking out of the park. I don't know what was. Oh, thank you, Rena. You knocked it, you rocked it. Brian, Jesse, my God, each one of you just radiating. So good. Thank you so much. More love for them. Good morning, Soul Center. I am so glad to be here. I love this place. I love you guys. We're here to rock and soul and get out of control is what we're here to do today. And before you get too many wild ideas of what that means, we're going to get to what that means. But for those of you here, for those of you streaming in live online, or maybe in the archives, for those of you out in the rumpus room on the patio, welcome. There's cohesion and connection with our peeps. Our peeps, because we're not just an isolated field of energy. You're not going to just be one little drop of water that stays separate from all the other droplets of water. We come together so that we are in the ocean of life, everlasting, ever good, and to feel that connection and that communion with Spirit. And we abide by the spiritual principles and the laws that were designed by idea. Imagine there's this divine mind that says, oh, okay, bliss is all we're going to do. Love is all we're going to do all the time. But I'm going to have to set some parameters as to how we can keep bliss and love and joy and beauty and peace perpetual. Those are the laws that govern the universe. Whether it's the law of attraction, whether it's the law of emergence, radiance, or creation, all of them share a united field to keep order, that you may experience bliss and joy. That is your destiny, is to embody that and to recognize it so that we can grow and glow, not only individually, but collectively as we move into this new month. The theme of the month is praising and raising. And that should basically be the theme of life. Because when you praise, you raise. And raising is what we came here to do. Topic for today is getting out of control and into harmony. I don't know if any of you have ever met, sometimes we term them as control freaks. People who really like to control things. I've met a couple that said, oh no, I'm not a control freak. And there they are trying to control things. And so what we want to do is begin to understand, and it's very natural. The ego likes to control things. The human experience likes to control. It likes to know what's going on. It sometimes likes an agenda. It likes rules. It likes a punch list. Now, I know that there are those who don't like those things. They're a little more free-spirited, want to be fly by the seat of their pants, but and don't like maybe structure or things of that nature. And that is actually another form of controlling. It is controlling by not being controlled. I'll show you, I'm going to go and be free-spirited and do all these things with no respect. And so that is a controlling mechanism of being out. But the out of control we're speaking of is moving from controlling into allowing, into surrender, into harmony, into congruence with the energy and the laws of your soul. To make sure we understand the difference between learning and education. Education, or being educated. Learning is you know something. Being educated, the root of the word education comes from educa, which is to rise, to be led from, to rise into something. And we know in our community, it's not enough to just be learned in something. One of the most frustrating things you can experience in your spiritual growth is knowing that you're not supposed to take things personally, knowing that you are one with God, knowing that you're not, whatever it might be, not be angry or resentful, knowing these things, but not embodying them, not feeling them. So our community asks you to rise into a knowingness by educating yourself, by rising and allowing that energy to lift you into a realization, revelation. To let go of control so that we can rise into dominion of our lives. Dominion means observe these things. So we allow ourselves to let go of control, but we also need to be mindful and take control. So if we look at something recently, sure, communities, we never judge. We don't make people bad or wrong, but we do observe something and we become aware of how do we hold the energy around it. So he lost control. There was just a comedy of errors, pardon the pun, comedy of errors when, Chris Rock says something that was a little offensive. It hit a nerve, a raw nerve, and the rest was self-explanatory. I'm assuming everybody knows what I'm talking about. The first thing we do, there was, I don't know if anybody, you noticed, lots of discussions on this and that, and oh, he should have been escorted out, and oh, blah, blah, blah. Not as spiritual warriors. We don't get involved in opinions. Unless you are on the board of directors of the Oscars, unless you are the producer, unless you are in charge of making that decision, it is none of your business. Your business is to hold vigil that you know for all of them concerned wellness, kindness, reverence, and respect, just like we affirmed in our affirmations earlier today. To go into, as it said in the reading, the ideal. We always want to rise to the ideal of any given situation. So unless you're, again, when people, anything that's going on in the news, unless you're ready to pray, you probably shouldn't be watching the news. Because prayer is what we want to bring to that. That's the consciousness we want to bring to it. We hear things in the news all the time that elicit and want to bring an opinion, and that opinion comes from controlling. We're here to get out of control, to get out of controlling and into being risen. Years ago, I was a client of mine who her daughter started to really act out. She was approaching, I think it was probably early teens, like 13, 14, somewhere in there, and she started to get really of pharmaceuticals and things of that nature, and I don't have anything against pharmaceuticals. Leak somewhere. We want to make sure that we don't just come along and suppress something and then it ruptures somewhere else and it shows up as something else, only because it needs to be heard. It needs to be seen. It needs to be understood. And so the mother in this situation was at her wit's end, because, as it would turn out, she was a little bit of a control freak, but didn't know it. As her child was growing up, there was a lot of controls put into place. She had to make sure you got to be home at this time for dinner, you got to do this, you got to do that, and it was all of these structures that were supposed to aid in a very well-rounded, kind, beautiful being. But there was a lot of you can'ts and you don't and no, and that's wrong. That was happening inadvertently, wasn't on purpose necessarily. And so as we started to dig in, and she actually brought the daughter into the equation, and we got to spend some time together, found out that this rebellion was coming from all of the subtle controlling mechanisms that she had grown up with. You weren't allowed to eat this, you weren't allowed a structure and being too controlling. And sometimes that line gets crossed inadvertently because we never know what's going on in somebody's energy body. There's things that maybe we brought with us from another life, and maybe we learned in this case that got exacerbated in this life. And so she tried to learn about stuff, and on her learning journey, she was becoming knowledgeable about all of these ailments and conditions and all of these things, and that's what started to learn her down the road of pharmaceuticals, etc. Then all of a sudden, she decided to educate herself. And as we started to talk, I'm like, what is it that what do you think? Now, if what you want to do both for yourself and for someone else is what are they yearning? What are they after? What are they really after? We're not listening to what they say out of their mouths. We're listening to what they're saying out of their hearts. When there's rebellion like that, we want to feel into it, just like we would do with anything else. In our spiritual community, we feel into it. Just like our prayer chaplains, we feel into. Sometimes, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but when you sit with a prayer chaplain and you give them, this is what I'd like prayer for, you might hear things come out of their mouth that you're like, oh, wow, how did they know that? Without ever knowing anything, except because what we're doing when we move into prayer is we're moving from the intellect of knowingness, or knowing from a carnal perspective, and we're moving into a heart field of educated feeling tone, that we're allowing ourselves to feel. What are they really after? Because if you tell me that you're after a soulmate relationship, or you're after whatever it is, this particular thing in your career, I'm going to want to know, what are you really after? When this child was acting out, if you get into what are they really after, and energetically, you can start to give them a safe place to receive what they're really after, because it will never be something that is incongruent or disharmonious or out of integrity with their soul. It might be interpreted that way and show up as acting out. This type of thing happens in areas of life. It happens whether it's the business owner who is so controlling in their ways that they won't evolve and grow their business. It happens in relationships. If I had a dime for every time I saw this in a relationship, sometimes you have the relationship where there's the spiritual person and the not spiritual person in the relationship. Sometimes you have two spiritual people, whatever it is, or two non-spiritual people. Anyway, everybody's spiritual. You can't not be spiritual. But there was a couple that they were learning spiritual practice, but they weren't becoming educated in it. And one of the big things that ended up happening was lots of arguing vis-a-vis controlling, because this is what you need to do. Oh, if you just apply this, remember how we learned this? This is what you need to do. And it's like, no, if you're doing this, really you're saying this. This is what I need to do, because we live in a reflective universe. So whenever it feels you need to do, you better check yourself and see, am I trying to control things? Because if you do this, then you'll be well-rounded and you'll be more whatever it is I think you need to be more of, and I'll feel better. That's not the way it works. The way it works is you do you. You change what's going on in your energy field, and the rest will follow. And the key ingredient of this is, if you really think that somebody, if they did that, A, start doing it. B, hold it for them. Hold whatever you think they need. So with the woman with the daughter, I'm like, what do you think she needs? not be expressed. But sometimes and sometimes you might be able to share it with them, but oftentimes you'll be able to hold it for them. And as soon as we started to connect heart to heart, as soon as we saw the daughter in a particular way and felt into what she entire world. And when I first started doing all this and I was meditating and I had a very rigid, I'm going to meditate. I would get up at 5 o'clock every morning just because what I do. And then I would the way it had to be done. So it took me a while, but I finally was like, okay, I know that the universe isn't here to just say, you're not supposed to be meditating, I'm just going to annoy the crap out of you. And so I sat there and I'm like, let me see. And as I listened to her, as I started to understand, I'm going to tell you, if you can master the understanding the language of the divine as animals, as plant, animals are the greatest teachers. Whether it's your cat or your dog, all of them will tell you, because God is omnipresent and omniscient in all things. And if you listen, when I heard, I was like, oh, she was basically, in essence, telling me, you're too rigid. You need to shake it up, move it around. So we moved it around and we went for the run first. Then we had some tea. Then we went to meditation. And she was saying, because I was getting too controlling, even in my spiritual practice. And you got to mess it up. And as soon as we rearranged it, as soon as I got the message, when we got to the meditation, there she was, back just curled up, ready to go. So we want to be sure that we understand what it means when it says in Scripture to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. You don't want to lean into your own understanding of things, because that'll probably take you into controlling a situation versus being available to place where we can be out of control and into a surrendered state of harmony. Harmony is where it's at. So can you imagine never ever having an argument ever again? No arguments ever again. And we'll go to the flip side. We'll go to the part where you never feel like you're walking on eggshells. Now, it turns out that the mother in this equation, she grew up in a household that had kind of that no control situation. And she was able to kind of run amok growing up. And, there's some blessings, I guess, to that, to some degree. But she also understood that she had a lack of structure. And one of the things, because her mom was a little kind of wild and crazy and did things a little bit, different than other moms, and got a reputation of kind of being the weird mom. And so she was a little bit embarrassed of her mom. And so one of the ways that she was trying to heal that was implementing control as structure. And so it was a twofer. We got two healings for the price of one, because the daughter got to be loved and adored and accepted and not controlled anymore, and the mother got to be free from too much rigid control, just like I got free when Molly said, stop being so controlling. And so we want to make sure that we rise into that state and find that fine line where we can interact and remember that If we're operating from that controlling field, then the information we're using is not for our highest good. And we want to tap into the information from providence that allows us to make sure, and how you'll know that is if you think you know what you know. Like, you know what's good for so-and-so. If you just do this, if friction arises from what you say when that happens, then you're probably going down the rabbit hole the wrong road. Me as we say yes to letting go of controlling our lives, whether it's the lack of control or too much control, and finding that sweet space where we understand the language, whether it's our children or our parents or our spouse or our best friend or whomever, whether it's people in your business community, that who was in his business, he was so controlling. So this is like another version of it, is when you see how he didn't want to grow. His business was starting to decline and diminish because he didn't want to move into new, innovative ways of being because those were beyond his control. And so that controlling was starting to show up as going to have to close the business and also going to lose a lot of money. And as soon as that started to shift and change, where it's like, okay, and sometimes it happens as we get a little older. I would like to not have that in the paradigm or in the collective consciousness, but we're going to all let that go, and we're going to allow ourselves to abide and reside, praise and is where we transmute, and that is where we rise. So I invite you to bring your awareness to your heart. Bring your awareness to your heart and allow yourself, we give ourselves permission to know, where am I to let go of control? Where am I to surrender? Where am I to open to the dominion of the Holy Presence, the Holy Spirit of the living God? And as we open to that, we pose the question. We know that the answer must always follow, for the universe is in before we ask the question. It is already here. We take a moment in deep gratitude, knowing that something wonderful has taken place here today. Just by sitting, just by relaxing, just by opening to providence, we have activated that within us that is allowing us to remember the truth of who we truly are. That there is no adversary in the world, there is no opponent, there is only oneness, goodness, and harmony in all things, including in ourselves with ourselves. We surrender into a state of the great remembering of knowing that I am as thou art as I am. We remember the truth, that our true power resides when the soul and the heart and the mind are on the same page. And so we choose to allow our thoughts, our words, our deeds to be congruent with the holy light. We choose to have compassion, absolute compassion, which means we understand the call that is coming from every situation, every relationship, and every circumstance. We are heart-centered soul beings of light, and we choose we own and we allow it to shine through us. How grateful I am to know we have activated it. How grateful I am to know that each of us has every talent, every ability, every gift to feel, see, hear, know, and understand. All that is required is to be still. Even if you're moving, be still. Be still and know that I am. And it's from a place of deep thanksgiving, knowing that the universe only seeks to lavish and love, only seeks to bring bliss and joy, beauty, harmony, and happiness around it, and claim it, own it. In our bones, in our cells, in our tissues, in yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we know the eternal is omnipresent. And we bring that energy of pure, holy compassion, harmony, and understanding down from the heart, the mind, the light, and the love of God, feeling it merged and converged in the oneness in our heart, in our mind, and we ground it to our Earth Star. allowing it to be good, allowing it to be so, and we simply agree to get out of our own way and let the brilliance of your own soul shine itself. And we do so in agreement simply by saying, and so I let it be. And so it is. Amen. 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 Ashe. Aho. Mahalo. Shalom. Hotep. And hallelujah. All right, Soul Center. We're getting ready. Thank you. We're getting ready to move into our conscious time as the ushers are going to come forward. Conscious time of giving, circulating, and knowing that that which we circulate comes back to us multifold. And even though in most unlimited, so we're going to say online, you can go to the soulcenteroc.com website and hit the donate button. All of it is safe and secure. You can also Venmo. Under the business section of Venmo, you'll find us at Soul Center OC. And I think I've covered them all. You can write checks and you can send them. Thank you. You can write checks and you can send them to what's on the screen. And remember, we have a new mailing address, so to our new mailing address. With that being said, the ushers are going to go forward, and Rena's going to come back and thrill us.
Hey, Jesse.
right. Please participate in that. Instead, you're going to hear something. You're going to feel something. So, we love it. We're a prayerful community. All right, we're going to go right into our prayer. Extending our heart through our hands, our prayers through our words. We take a moment as we open into this infinite field of ever-expanding good, knowing that God only lavishes and loves, only abundantly and brilliantly brings forward good. That is the nature of life. That is the nature of God. We have said yes to knowing that we, each and every one of us, as divine emissaries, angels, born in the image and likeness of good, microcosmic expressions of the divine, that we are saying yes to circulating love, circulating prosperity, circulating peace and harmony and self-love and joy. This is what we circulate, and it just lifts us from glory to greater glory. We have said yes to feeling into the wisdom of the heart and soul, and we allow ourselves to only and always be guided, directed, uplifted, and connected as ever-expanding good has its way. We bless this offering knowing that Soul Center is saying yes to growing and glowing. Our building is ours. Everything we need to thrive continues to grow. We simply invite it, evoke it, and allow it to be, and we agree by saying, so be it.
So be it.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you, ushers, and the kids are going to come in.
Hi everybody.
Hey.
Beautiful day today, as always. We're back with the team program today. Today we talked a bit about individuation. So who are we as an individual, and how does our personal individuality set us apart from the rest of the world? And once you know the person you are, you know the difference that you can make in the future. So we have these beautiful vision boards that we made, talking about the person that we are now and the person that we will be then, or in the future. Because once you know the individual you are, you know the person that you will become. So you can see these boards. Would you guys like to share a bit about yours?
All right, situation.
Yeah, sure. So I put I make a difference on my board. I don't know completely who I am yet, but I know that in the future I really want people to know and people to be proud of me for my
Yeah, we just asked to write a word that you resonate with as well. The more that you look at a word every day, the more you become that. So Sadie wrote rainbow, and it's really beautiful. But she doesn't want to share it right now.
All right, time for our peace song. Take a moment to dive deep into sincerity, sincerely remembering that God is the power and the presence of all good that has brought forward this holy joy. We take a moment and we know that the eternal frequency is bliss, joy, nirvana, goodness, prosperity, beauty in all of its ways, shapes, and forms. And we are one with this, and we have come here to let it lift us higher, greater, grander, bigger, better than ever before. Glory to greater glory. We allow ourselves to be catapulted into the uncontrolling brilliance and beauty of ever-expanding good. We allow it to be with full faith and full trust, absolutely glowing and growing, letting this be good, letting it be now, letting it be so by saying, and so it is.